G'day folks and welcome to today's video. Today we'll be doing a 3D sketch of an SteamPunk torch. Now, I'm taking some of my original drawings here and I'm going to be blocking out the sort of shape of this torch that I'd like to build. In future, I'd like to be looking at making this more multifunctional, maybe adding sensor arrays, having it be able to interface with any technology that you've got around the home, maybe with any other sculptures. But for now, we're going to focus on just the actual light component. Is making it a torch that you'd actually like to display on a shelf and that you'd also feel like you're searching around and solving mysteries if you're actually using it throughout the house. So we're going to focus on this simple cylindrical design with a couple different tiers and extra elements there. I'm going to make that material so that we can see the colours that we're going for. Obviously this very nice brass. Now I like the use of 3D as a method of blocking out shapes. It's not exactly up to the point where it's an engineering drawing, where you know exactly where wires and batteries and other things are going to go, but it's a good way to get an idea and an understanding of how shapes and colours and angles and things are going to work, which is really good for when you end up finding components and working on building sculptures or functional technology. I'm taking inspiration from other things again. This central glass section there is reminiscent of a lot of Art Deco lamps from the 1920s. Had those glass rods around the central light, which cascades the light in an interesting way. In the future they might be a sort of round bar graph for showing details, maybe the charge of the light, other things. Adding in crystals, they're a favourite design component of mine, just because they provide a bit of an interesting contrast to the very mechanical components, having these natural, almost sort of mystical elements. Using these models up the top as a dimmer knob, and obviously a gauge to show where the dimmer's pointing to. The idea is just to have a very tactile experience, not just clicking a button on the bottom of the lamp, but it being able to turn knobs and dials to work out where the torch, the exact colour perhaps, the light intensity of the torch, maybe even being able to adjust these lenses out in front to change the direction of the spray of light from the torch. Now, this is a 3D sketch, so in much the same way as a 2D sketch, it's really not going to be final idea of how all of these things will come together, but it's a good idea to start with the general vibes of the piece that I'm trying to design. Now, in future, I'd like to go through and start actually working on understanding and learning how to calculate optics, and designing lenses, or working out how to use lenses that I've salvaged, that I've found, or that I've made, to really create an actual functional lens array so that it's casting the light in a proper direction rather than just being an interesting decorative piece. Because of the index of refraction of glass and the way that it interacts differently with rays of light than air itself does, the direction and the ability of these lenses in their different formats to scatter light in different ways means that you can achieve some very interesting effects. In last week's video we talked about the camera. Well, in this week's video here with the SteamPunk torch, I want to work out how to make these lenses that are visible, that are open, so that people seeing it in action can actually see it working, but that actually have a function of bringing the light from the LED that would be within the torch and focusing it into a beam so that it can be well utilized as an actual functional object. So I just really love lenses and I want to see more folks actually using them in an open way, in a place where they can be seen rather than just trying to keep them sort of out of sight and out of mind. Adding in extra handles, bits at the bottom that could be clipped to the belt so that you could carry it around. It's my goal with these creations, with these designs, to really encourage people to take a look at shapes, at design elements that they see in the world around us, and to just find ways to integrate them with modern technology, products that we already have. Try and think about how we'd be able to create something that we'd be interested in having, interested in seeing, interested in working and playing around with, things that we could make that would make our own lives just a tad more interesting, or just a bit more enjoyable to have these sculptures and these creative elements actually present. Now this SteamPunk torch, again, is in a sketch format. In future, I'll be drawing up accurate diagrams, taking a look at where I would put components inside. But for now, we can look at a pretty image and take a look at what it might look like. So thank you very much for watching. We'll see you around.